Everybody, welcome back to Hammers and Dice. It has been quite a while since our last podcast. I feel like it was right after like the initial leaks, right? That we did our last podcast, something like that. Um, it feels like the world has changed since then. I mean, the
Oh
heresy.
no, it's March 2020 all over again. Everything's reset. No.
Um, but we're gonna get into that. But like because of how long it's been, we'll just do like a quick hobby date update for each of us. So John, why don't you get us started? What have you been working on for the last month or so?
I have just finished my 3,000-ish points of Sons of Horus, so they're ready to go. I'm ready to go for 3.0. I actually got to play a game with them over the weekend, so super excited about that. Right now I'm working on War Master Horus, or Horus Ascended, rather. And after that, I'm going to add some more units to my army before kind of go into like Mechanicum and some other stuff to kind of get them all squared up for the new edition. And I found a friend who could build my Reaver for me, so that might actually happen now.
Finally.
Yay.
I know. But yes, Devon.
Ron, what about you?
All right. So, unfortunately, about a month and a half ago, I had a whoopsie with my Mechanicum. I was organizing the house, and I put them from the stable table to on top of several precariously perched boxes. As you can no doubt imagine, they went kersplat and shattered everywhere. So, my last month and a half has been putting them kind of back together slowly out of frustration and also just not really hobbying in general. I had just started 5 Breacher Sons of Horus when the 3.0 leaks started. So not seeing Meltaguns on the option table had me like, damn, that's what I was going for. So I'm just now in holding pattern until that Legacies of Darkness releases so I can figure out what I'm doing.
Nice. Yeah. I just finished 3,000 point list for my Emperor's Children. It's like a 2.0 3,000 point list, so it's going to need to be updated to actually be 3,000 points in 3.0 because a lot of things on that list are actually cheaper in the new edition. So I have to add more stuff to it to get it back up to 3,000 points. But I was kind of trying to get that finished for Palm Springs Open, which was this past weekend that Espa and I were at, and it was kind of like our final swan song to 2.0. Like before we knew what the release date was going to be, we were all like, is this going to be a 2.0 event? Is it going to be a 3.0 event? And then they kind of made the decision as we still hadn't quite heard the release date yet. And it was like only a month out where it's like, even if it's released beforehand, we're going to keep it a 2.0 event. And weirdly, it landed up being released the first day of the event. So we were like, you know what? It's a good call that we kept it 2.0. And this is just going to be like a way for us to kind of say goodbye and play some like fun 2.0 games. And yeah, I mean, I'll let you speak for like how things were for you. But like for me, it was much better because the power didn't go out this year. Huge bonus. And it's not 100 degrees in the middle of the night with no AC. You really actually sleep a lot better. Who knew? But yeah, it was like a lot of the same guys were from last year were there this year again. So it was great at seeing everybody. And I played some really good games. My first game was against a guy named Rob. He brought like a tough Ultramarines Logos Lectura list, which for me was like a trip down memory lane because that was literally like my first list at the beginning of like 2.0 was an Ultramarines list that ran Logos. So it was a really close game that literally came down to like a couple charges in the last turn, and he managed to hold me off. So he won that game. And then my second game was with Brian from Gamers Haven, who had a Blood Angels Day of Revelations list, which was my first time playing against that. And it was interesting because he had his Deep Strike come in turn 2, but I had Maruskara, so I was able to keep like a lot of my best units off the board until after his Deep Strike came in. So I was able to kind of like outmaneuver him, and like I literally waited till turn 4 to bring my units on. So like I kind of like was like desperately clinging on until my units came in to kind of like bring in some support, and I managed to win that victory. And then my last mission was a good old grudge match with the Iron Hands with Morgan from San Diego. Just brought a really fun, very themey Iron Hands list. And we duked it out. He managed to kill my Warlord in a challenge, but I did table him. which is only right for the Emperor's Children to defeat the foul Iron Hands. But it was a lot of fun. Everybody there is just like really enjoys it. Like it's one of those events where like nobody's keeping track of score. It's all just kind of like have fun games, see cool painted models, and get a little bit drunk. How about you, Esteban? What did you think of the weekend?
Not gonna lie, I got more than a little drunk, so I'm having a hard time recollecting everything. I remember there was a duel against a knight and Lionel Johnson, and then he tanked like I think 5 rounds worth of shooting from turbo lasers and Vulcan bolters before dying to one. Had a good old fashioned grudge match against Night Lords, which was very fun, and then an Alpha Legion game. But by then, I think I was still kind of blitzed out on Sunday, and I ended up leaving a little early just because I was like, dying mode. But it was really great fun, honestly. Like drinking in Heresy, that's the way it was intended, right?
Exactly.
But it was a good swan song to 2.0. You know, nice having to meet our gaming community out there with some of the people who came in. We had a bunch of people come from all over the state. You know, some as far as San Jose, I believe, is where someone came from.
Yeah.
A couple of military guys came out too, since they were new to the area and were enjoying their time, which is nice. Always got to appreciate our military members out there who play 30K. They play the superior game. But yeah, no, it was just a great time because honestly, just being able to just game with the community is the number one thing. And as you said, no one was really keeping score. It was all about just kind of enjoying the time and having fun. So
yeah. Big shout out to Josh from Gamers Haven in Colton, who runs the event. He just creates a really chill, relaxed vibe for the weekend that just like allows everybody to just have fun and kind of do whatever they want, which there's not every event does that. So it's appreciated. And then to move on, the meat of this episode is really to kind of talk about our impressions of 3.0, but I think we should address the craziness a little bit first. And I just wanted to start out by saying, like, we actually almost did a hype video. I think the only reason we didn't was because scheduling issues. I'm really glad we didn't, because like I think a day or two after we would have recorded it was like when the Libra leaks dropped and like all hell broke loose. And I can only imagine the like comments that would have been on our video had we been like hype. And then 2 days later,
too, with everything happening.
But yeah, I mean, people who watch this, who are like subscribed to our podcasts and other Heresy podcasts, might notice that we were, I think, the only Heresy podcast who didn't like release a new episode like twice a day or whatever for like weeks, taking advantage of the pandemonium. And for me, at least, I really didn't want to be another voice shouting into the darkness with rage. You know, obviously I was upset about a lot of things that I saw in the leaks, but I also felt like a lot of the outrage was like potentially people who've never even played 30K before who kind of jumping on the bandwagon, and I didn't want to like give them more things to be angry about. And also, like, we didn't know, like, we hadn't gotten a response yet from Games Workshop. Like, we didn't know how they were going to respond to that. Like, we knew there was a Legacies PDF coming out. We didn't know what was going to be in it, but a lot of the outrage seemed to be about things that were very likely going to be in the Legacies PDF. You know, there's a little bit of a debate we can get into about whether they added some more things into the Legacy PDF after the outrage, which I think is possibly true, which is why the PDF hasn't actually dropped yet. But yeah, I just feel like we didn't want to make a video without seeing how things like shook out, and not just like make an internet outrage video just for the sake of clicks, which, you know, to me, like, that's not what I'm into Heresy for. Like, I'm into Heresy for the love of it. And, you know, as much as I can complain about Games Workshop sometimes, like, I would like to believe that my criticisms are like from a like somewhat calculated standpoint and not just like based on being angry because everybody else is also angry. You know, I don't know if you guys have anything you want to say about that.
Yeah, like it's just not fun being angry, you know. Like, we play this game because it's fun and there's like Space Marines and stuff and there's dice that are cool. And yeah, I had some major criticisms too when the leaks initially came out and all that. and we can talk more about our feelings later. But yeah, I think just the internet outrage kind of just kept going for the sake of outrage, I think. And I think we made Randy especially made the good call just not having an episode, because even if we had like a good and balanced discussion about what was going on, like it would just get drowned out in the sea of anger. And I understand, people were upset that a lot of their armies were invalidated, quote unquote. And thankfully, none of my stuff was, so I can't relate there. But I've had armies invalidated by Games Workshop before. Like I have a second edition Age of Sigmar Stormcast army, and that whole army has no rules anymore, which is wild, right? So, but it's like the minions are there, they're cool. I could just proxy them as like the new units, and no one's gonna care. And so I didn't really have like that kind of, oh no, my stuff is useless kind of reaction. But again, like I understand where people come from when that happens. But at the same time, after that initial rage, I think the continued anger and clickbaitiness of it's just kind of, what's the word, just exhausting. Yeah. And I just saw like a Reddit thread saying like, oh man, the new Libras are so soulless because the lore is like 2 sentences shorter. And it's like, dude, who cares? Like, is that really like or like there's that picture of the Mark II Marine with like another Marine Photoshop behind him? Like who cares? Like I'm here to play dice with my friends roll dice with my friends and play with Space Marines.
No, fair enough, John. I know for me, I kind of had a really bad gut reaction feeling to all the leaks. I mean, I tried avoiding them, but there's only so much you can avoid when you're just browsing forums looking for cool modeling ideas, and people just keep mentioning the leaks. I will say I understand most of the outrage, just because seeing a lot of what did change and what didn't change was very reminiscent of the 7th to 8th edition change and the 9th to 10th edition changes, where a lot of things changed that felt like didn't need to be changed. And I won't argue on what needed to be changed, what didn't change from 2.0 to 3.0, but I understand that the gut reaction is just because I've been there on that end with the 40K scene and the Age of Sigmar, and even back in fantasy when I joined the fantasy right before the Age of Sigmar reset. It's like the feels bad comes again. And I get it, that it's not a good feeling to see something that is kind of like a premonition of here we go again. So I get it. I mean, was it out loud? Yeah, but people will always vent because we hate change. We're old people who are set in our ways as far as hobbies concerned. We don't like change. We like outdated rules that make no sense.
I mean, I feel like a lot of similar complaints were levied when 2.0 was dropping. And then a lot of people at the time were like, I'm just going to keep playing 1.0. And I don't think I've met a single person who still plays 1.0. Maybe it's different in the UK because obviously there's a lot more Heresy players there and there's a lot more going on. But in the US, I'm like, I've never seen someone play 1.0 in the 3 years since I started playing 2.0. And I suspect that will be the same for 3.0. I think, people have gone through a grieving process, and anger was definitely the longest and loudest point of that. But it feels like the majority of the community has come to acceptance. And like at this point, I don't know if we're going to get any rage comments on this video about this, but if we do, just play another game. Like if you're still angry and you still don't want to play 3.0, that's fine. Nobody's forcing you to play. Sell your models. There still are a lot of people who are playing, so I'm sure someone will buy them if they're not painted like a 3-year-old, and sell them and play another game. And that's fine. That's your decision. And I'm sure whatever community you join, they will welcome you with open arms, because every community wants new players, right? But like, why waste your energy hating on a game that you are determined to not play anymore, if that's how you really feel? I feel like we're at a point, and hopefully we'll never really have to talk about this again. Hopefully we're at a point where it's like, if you're deciding to stay in the community, you've accepted the changes are what they are, and like that's it.
I will say this too, and add on. And there's been a lot of talk, especially with like new people coming in, in the different Discord and Facebook groups that I'm in, where it's like, hey, I want to start Heresy. Like, I hear people are going to stick to 2.0, or are you guys going to do a 3.0? Like, what's going on? My response to that is, I think like and this is on top of what Randy says. I think people will move on to 3.0. I think a lot of people who say, "Oh, 2.0 is going to stay," underestimate like just the institutional kind of what's the word like the fact that 3.0 is official means people are going to play it. Just that kind of that momentum, that institutional momentum. Like this is the official rule set, and it's getting you models, it's getting you arcane journals, it's getting you releases. That will really just make people play 3.0. I don't think 2.0 communities will be that widespread. Now, are people going to be playing 2.0 in their garages? That's probably. I actually met some people who are going to do that, and that's cool. Like Randy said, like just do that, right? But I don't think that we're going to see any wide adoption of the 2.0 rule set. I don't think we're going to see any big events with 2.0. Just how we don't see any big events for 1.0 anymore. How we don't see any big events for old fantasy. Everyone moves on to old world, right? Yeah. Not even all the armies are playable in old world, but that's what people play. Same for like 10th edition 40k, for Age of Sigmar. People will generally speaking move to the current edition. And for any new players who are trying to hop in to 30k watching this video or listening to the podcast, just prep for 3.0. I think that's what's going to be happening.
Yeah. And keep in mind, like, a big part of the reason that like 2.0 was so successful over the last few years was that the community largely banded together and decided to modify the parts of the rule set that were outrageously bad, right? Like, it wasn't like it was a perfect rule set. It had a lot of issues. And we all kind of were like, you know what? We're not going to do more than 1,000 points, like one dreadnought per 1,000 points. You know, like, we're not going to like spam, you know, like Imperial Fist Phalanx Wardens all the time.
Dude, the dreadnought thing, that shit is so wild to me, that in such a divisive and controversial world that we live in, that the global community for heresy has agreed, like, hey man, we should take one dreadnought per 1,000 points wherever, you know, like, it's kind of wild how that's been adopted, and it shows that that could happen for 3.0.
Like, even heavy support squads, I feel like I very rarely saw a 10-man strong last cannon heavy support squad by the end of the edition. It felt like people really tried to move away from that, like acknowledging that it was a bit overpowered and be like, I want to do different stuff.
Yeah.
So like, if we get into this edition and there's similar issues, I don't doubt that the community will come up with similar solutions, because this is a community that embraces the narrative love of the game and not the competitiveness of it. Otherwise, we'd just be playing 40k. And a lot of people who play this game are people who left 40k because of that competitiveness. So that being said, like, why don't we each kind of talk about like the things that we're hyped for, and if there's something that in particular that you're like, yeah, like, I don't love this, let's see how it shakes out. Like, we can talk about that too. Does either one of you guys want to start?
Yeah,
sounds like a good plan.
All right, Esteban, you go first. Go for it.
All right. You know what? We should start off on a negative so we can go to the positive, because that's how this whole edition has started, with everyone being negative Nancy's. So let's start that way. Journals. I am not excited for the plan of journals, and I understand you guys might be a bit more excited, but whenever GW has done multiple books, I've noticed that their quality seems to drop. And I saw this with 8th and 9th edition with the rapid releases of codexes for their competitive scene. There were a lot of issues, especially when it came to rules balancing and just quality of the books. I feel like the journals might be in that similar position now, where GW is going to be rapid shooting these out, but we're going to be seeing some really wild rules that don't make sense, or rules that are just bad is what I'm fearful more stuff. Or in the worst case scenario is rules that break the current game and that are going to force the community to change them, which we will do, of course, but it'll just be this kind of boogeyman in the back of everyone's minds, like, oh, the next journal's coming out, what's going to be wrong with it? And I think that's the main thing I'm not really too happy about. That GW's push on this reminds me very much of the hyper release schedule of 8th and 9th edition, and I don't want to see a hyper release schedule. I'd rather see a good quality, focused, and intentionalized product that meets our demand for something cool in heresy, and isn't just sending it out because we want to send it out, or we have to send it out because we're trying to catch up.
So I'm gonna respond to that in a form of agreement, actually, because so I play Old World. So for our listeners who don't know, And Old World has this arcane journal system. And what you said about the quality being all over the place, that is absolutely the case for Old World arcane journals. And not in the sense of like it breaks the game, or even okay, let's not even like talk about like a competitive or what's a good standpoint, but just like in terms of rules that are fun and not fun. Even then, there's a variation in Old World. Like there's some arcane journals have rules that are just kind of pointless. Like they give you army constructions or magic items that kind of just don't do anything. But there's some that are super good. I think the new Cathay release is lauded as a really good example of a well written out arcane journal. But there's others that are just not that, right? And interestingly enough, like the later arcane journals are better written than the old ones. Like whoa, so yeah, I think that's I'm personally excited for what are they called, tactical journals now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree that I think there is a real concern that the quality will not be even, right? On the flip side, again, at the very least, Heresy is a narrative again community, whereas Old World's more competitive. So there's more of a scrutiny there about what's good and what's not. So I'm hoping the Heresy community like reduces the amount of bull crap that could pop up because of journals. But
I mean, I'll put in my 2 cents as well. I definitely am. I mean, anytime GW releases anything, there's always the fear that like they messed it up somehow, right? Like that's just like
less fear, more dread of how badly they've messed it up.
There's a fear of like, what did they do this time? So that being said, like my hope, and again, like I'm coming to it from a place of hope that things are going to be fun and good, and if they're not, then we'll deal with that. But like one of the things that I was going to list as being something that I think is a little bit of a weakness in this new edition is that some of the legions have lost some flavor. And one of the things that actually says in the new rule book is that legions will gain additional rights of war in upcoming journal tacticas. So I'm excited for the possibility that there will be a little bit more legion flavor brought back to some of the legions that lost it. Will that 100% be the case? I don't know. Maybe the new tacticas won't be any better or worse. I don't know. But like, I hope that does bring a little bit more variety. And it means that you're not necessarily needing to buy every journal. Like if you only want the journal for the legions you play, that it's not like the nice thing is that they're cheaper. It's not like most of the books that we got in the last edition that were like thicker, more expensive books, even though they didn't really have that much in them. So like I don't mind the fact that these are smaller, little flimsier, because they're cheaper. And like really all you care about with these books is like the 3 unit profiles that are in them, right? For the most part. So I'm fine with that. And the other thing, and this isn't necessarily about the content of the journals themselves, but this does give me hope that like potentially that this means that it's not going to be a 3-year cycle for this edition, which is another thing that a lot of people have complained about, is like the concern that Heresy is moving to a 3-year cycle, like Sigmar and like 40K. So what Warcom said, which again, like can't always take them at their word because a lot of times they are full of shit. But one of the things they said is there's going to be 1 journal for every faction, which means there's going to be at least 21 or so faction journals. And then on top of that, there's going to be journals for different battles. So let's say conservatively, there's going to be like 25 journals. Unless they're planning on literally having a journal come out every month, every other month, that's going to be more than 3 years in that release cycle. So assuming that they weren't just flat out lying about what journals are coming out, that does give me hope that they're not going to try to put Heresy on a 3-year cycle. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think Heresy is. I think it's big, and I think it's getting the attention that we want. But I don't think it's 40K or AOS level.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's gonna get that 3-year edition cycle. I will say I do think in 3 years, in what is it, July of 2028, we will get something like probably a box set or something crazy. Plastic Warhound. I don't know. Maybe.
It's fucking great.
It's great. Yeah. But I don't think we're gonna see another edition cycle because that like Clockwork is gonna leave very few space for the other games like Old World, like Kill Team if that gets big or whatever they want to release, right? I think 40K and AOS need those 3-year cycles, but I don't think 30K can fit considering there's other games going on.
Yeah.
And And actually, it's funny because we mentioned that there's going to be journals for legions or factions and battles, but there's also like random, like the Saturnine journal is so random. Like, here's a journal for just Saturnine armor. Like,
I'm actually
like a
excited
bug
about
for journal.
that.
That'd be kind of funny.
Like, I want to see the Thousand Suns Saturnine. I really want to see the rules for that. Because like I'm waiting to build and paint my Saturnine just until I see like how good those are. Because I might do them for my Thousand Suns.
Yeah. Side note: that kit is insanely customizable and also insanely kind of what's the word? Just kind of intimidating to build. Looking at the sprue, but I think that Games Workshop has listened to opinions about the posability of kits, and I think Saturnine, like, you could break downs with those guys without cutting them, which is wild. Looking at what people have been doing online, and even the Praetor, you could do like double-handed axe poses, all this stuff, or crazy kind of battle pose and all that without cutting or minimal cutting, which I think is great. So that it makes me excited for Cataphracti and Tartaros when they come out, because see what they do with that stuff.
All right, Esteban, what's the thing you're positive about?
All right, the positive thing about is the fact that it seems like they have addressed almost 80, if not 90% of all the issues that we had with the 2.0 rule set. Namely, of course, and I know this is a mixed opinion from everyone, the fact that they've kind of gone rid of a lot of ambiguity in their wording. I think this is a lot more well written. And to everyone complaining about, oh my God, this thing has so many words. Oh my God, I have to read 5-10 pages for one phase. Go increase your reading skill past the kindergarten level, please, for God's sakes. You can't read at a 6th grade level, son. This is at least 8th grade level. Come on, guys. Why are we complaining about this?
No, I mean, I agree. Yeah.
But yeah, so they've gone through the whole rule set has been improved. I think there are some areas that are still kind of like, huh? And it is just a matter of reading comprehension, really taking time to read through the rules clearly. And that is the one thing that GW has never been good at, is clarity and continuity of the rule set. Their rules are very jumpy, where you're referencing multiple pages. That is one of their downfalls. But again, the community, I know for a fact there was a guy from last edition who made the Omega Codex, if you guys remember that. Great little cheat sheet, was like 28 pages. I'm sure someone's already working on this edition's version of that, where it's going to be a really quick, concise cheat sheet that you're going to be able to reference. And really, whoever that person is, you should go apply to work for GW, because you would save them like 50 pages each edition, honestly, on whatever they're working on. Because seriously, GW rules writing is their book conciseness is just god awful.
I agree with you. I mean, I think one of the issues with 2.0 was the ambiguity with a lot of the rules, the way they were written. Like, a lot of interactions didn't have specific detail into like how or when they should be applied. So, I mean, I think almost every game I had in 2.0, there was a moment where it was like, I don't know how this interaction is really supposed to be. And most of the time it's a friendly game and you guys, like, we roll a die for it, or it's like, whatever, fine, it's whatever you want. But like, there would definitely be those times when you're both like adamant about how, one rule is different than another. I mean, Esteban, you and I had an argument when we were doing a battle report. I cut it out.
The jump
pad.
My
first real game with you, Randy. We were trying to figure out for like 15 minutes whether hold the line stops hatred, and we don't know. It's not clear.
Yeah. So like, we were talking about, like, with Esteban and I, we were talking about like, can jump packs go over like terrain or something like that? I don't know.
It was our jump packs affected by terrain slowing them down, because they still,
we don't need to
slow down.
We don't need to rehash the argument, because it's at this point it's an old, outdated rule set. But like, my point is that for a lot of these rules, hopefully you read them once or twice and then you don't really need to look at them again until you have a question about something. And then there's a very specific, like, I was looking at like a Rite of War yesterday, and it was like, this happens at the end of stage 3 of the charge subphase. And I was like, when's that? And I went to the rule book and I was like, stage 3, the setup phase. So the end of stage 3, right after someone sets up. Perfect. Like, that's exactly when you need to know about that. And then
like, after that, now you don't need to like refer to that all the time.
And if you like have an argument with someone about it, like, it's very clearly written. It's like, this is where it is. Go to the rule book. That's where it is. And like, stuff like that, like reducing like those kind of arguments, like, 'cause even in a narrative game, that stuff pops up. And the fewer types of arguments that you have with that, the more enjoyable it is for everybody, right?
So on the topic of the rule set, I think there's something that in classic GW fashion, they do something really well and they just don't, they mess it up somehow. So in the new rule set, they have this thing for special rules, gambits, all these one-off rules. They have this thing where they have like, so they have the name of the rule, and they have a fluff description of what this rule does. Like for rending, it says like, the attack carves through armor or whatever, or critical hits, like it pierces the opponent's throat, so it does extra damage. So it tells what the rule is in the fluff, and then there's like a one sentence bolded statement or one bolded sentence that gives you a summary of what the rule does in one sentence. So breaching, it would be, this attack has a chance to punch through enemy armor on the wound roll, which it's not very clear and concise, but it kind of gives you an idea of what the rule will do. And then it spells out the rule, and what Randy was saying, like the kind of lawyer language of like, this is what it is step by step. So when you look at these special rules, it's really easy to, if you just want to know what it does, kind of to wrap your head around it, it says that, and then it gives you the full text for it, which is awesome. But the problem is they only do this for parts of the rules. Not like, this would be great for the charge phase of like, charge phase, this is a setup move. One sentence, a setup move is a move where you move before you roll the dice or make volley attacks or whatever. But they don't do that. They just give you the full rule stack. So whoever came up with that kind of 3-step description is a genius, and I hope they pay you a lot in GW. But I wish that was for all the rules, because it was very helpful in kind of describing what rules do.
Oh, absolutely. I was going to say, leading back to that, I think, because I haven't had a chance to actually get Saturnine yet, I believe that their condensed kind of starting rule set is a bit more easier to follow. So I think if people who have that they'll probably be able to keep onto that smaller rule book to kind of reference rather than the whole rule book. Because honestly, if there's one thing I really missed from, I don't know if it was 6th or 7th edition, the game came with a quick like cheat sheet of like 3-4 pages that was, hey, these are all the phases summarized and when things happen. I wish we had that from GW Direct, but again, going back to the community provides. Whoever's out there working on their version of the Omega Codex, by the way, send us your PayPal info. I will send you money to get this done faster, please.
All right, John, your turn. What are you hyped about, and what are things that you?
I mean, like, okay, hot take time, and this is gonna get some hate comments. But I guess for background, I played one IRL game of 3.0. I've read the whole rule book, like I think twice. I've read the entire Marine book. Well, sorry, not the Legion rules, just like the Army list and my Legion rules. I've read the Mechanicum book. I've read the Solar Ox book, and I've read the Custodes PDF. And I will say this rule set is actually like amazing. This rule set is so good that I don't think anyone has a reason to play 2.0. Like if you don't like 2.0, because everything 2.0 does over 1.0, 3.0 just does better. And if you don't like 3.0, you should just play 1.0, because you probably don't like the things that are unique about 2.0. Because 3.0, because that's what 3.0 does better. Like the rule set, like reactions, vehicle rules, the what else? What's it called? The special rule section, how those work, the like challenges, all these things are just so fun and so cool that I'm just getting hyped thinking about like games I'm gonna play. I think the stuff they added is just so fun and unique and flavorful that yeah, I'm so hyped for this new edition. Now, there's things I don't like army building and all that, but for the most part, like the rule set, the army list, and all that, I think it's such a good base for this edition that I'm excited about whatever crap they're gonna put out, whatever random arcane journal, like Bolter arcane journal. I don't care. Like I'm just so excited for more content, for more games in this new. It feels so refreshing, like looking at the rule set and seeing all this, discovering all these new things that the game has to offer. So I'm hyped.
Yeah.
So
yeah, John. No, I do agree that this set does improve a lot of things over what Heresy 2.0 did. Especially again, like you said, just improving some aspects that had got destroyed with 2.0, essentially, just to kind of put it bluntly. And I agree, and just kind of tying back into the earlier discussion regarding the Outverse community, when the main rulebook started getting leaked, there wasn't a lot of outrage at all. It was all like, oh, this is interesting. Oh, that's neat. Oh, that's weird. And I think the main complaint is just the Liber. And I think maybe you agree with this, which is the Libers do feel really, really lackluster. And I think Randy already mentioned that the Legions feel like they lost a lot of flavor. And again, they'll fix this as journals, quote unquote, for Warcom. But Yeah, it is just a better rule set, honestly. It may not do everything that everyone wants it to do, but it does a lot of what the community was asking for at the very beginning. And I'm hoping that, and it seems like this is actually a rule set where I don't expect there to be an FAQ right off the bat for everything. I know we just got one literally the day before. We got our day -1 FAQ, but I don't suspect we will actually need additional FAQs like we were asking for in 2.0.
Yeah, I agree. And in terms of the labors, I think the actual Space Marine list is pretty good. It's just the actual legions where I think are lacking.
Yeah.
Where you lost a lot of some legions, a lot of legions lost a bunch of flavor, a bunch of upgrades. Rights of War, like the old Rights of War hasn't a real replacement yet. So kind of bare bones there, but now that said, like whoever wrote the Mechanicum book, whoever designed this army, I just finished it like today. I just like hit my head like how this army works. Like whoever wrote this book is again like a genius. Like the Mechanicum army list is so fun. There's so many cool like things, interactions, and it's like, and even if you just don't play Cybernetica or Myrmidax, like there's one where like your Ursarax, those jump pack Thalax with lightning claws, they got like +1 wound or something, but you need to take like all of them, and it's like, well, this is cool. Like this unit kind of works now if you build it this way. The way Cyberthurgy works is really fun. And it kind of goes back to this kind of criticism with 3.0 and Heresy in general, where there's an inconsistency in quality. Like, where was this kind of energy in writing for the Legion rules, right? Like, why do Space Wolves feel so bland? Why do some of these legions feel so bland? Like Angron Transfigured has 1 page of rules. Like, why? So
I guess my turn.
Yes.
So, for me, let me see. I mentioned the fact that some of the Legion Rights of War. I mean, you guys just talked about that. I guess I'll start with like the stuff that excites me. So like, I think the list writing is going to take some getting used to. I've written a couple of lists, and it definitely feels like a new puzzle for me. Which the potential downside with it is I think it's going to be really confusing for new players to wrap their heads around, because like it took me a while to wrap my head around it.
8th grade reading comprehension, guys, come on.
I'm at a 7th grade level, okay, but I think the thing that excites me about it is that like by the end of 2.0, if you were playing against whatever Legion, Mech, Solar Ox, whatever, if someone was bringing not even fully optimized, like a semi-optimized list, depending on what their faction is, you probably had a good idea of what was going to be in it. Not everything, like everybody has like a few different things here and there, but like you knew what was strongest, what worked best with every Legion, right? And so if you're like being like, oh, like we're going to play like not a competitive game, we're going to try to like play like a good close match, like you kind of know what you each are going to bring, to some extent. My hope is that with 3.0 it's like we're kind of back to the beginning and starting in like what works best, what synergizes well with other things. And my hope is that the way we build lists now could potentially make it in a way where it's like there's not one answer anymore, right? Like the different auxiliary detachments and potentially more coming with the journals means that there's a lot more different ways to write effective lists for every army. So that's one thing I'm excited about. Like I'm very excited about like the changes for challenges. I also have played one game so far. I'm sure we got a lot of stuff wrong, but like the challenges are really cool. And I don't think it's going to be a situation where I know there's some gambits that are stronger than others, and I'm sure there's going to be gambits that like get used a lot and some that never get used. But I do think depending on your character, depending on their weapon skill, their initiative, it's not like a one thing. It's not like every single person is going to be like picking Fury of Blows every time. Like there's, it's going to be different depending on the character that you're bringing, which is cool. Like, so I appreciate that. In terms of like some negatives, I do think some things, which is common with Games Workshop, they tend to overcorrect. I do think Dreadnoughts got hurt a little bit too much. I appreciate the fact that they like made them harder to bring, so you can't bring like a dozen of them in a list. But I think knocking them down to weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 4, made them like almost kind of useless in a lot of ways. I mean, we'll see. Like, I'm like, part of my feeling is that they just don't seem to have as much of a place anymore. Um, I think specifically the Leviathan, I was saying this to John earlier, like, I think the Leviathan doesn't have a purpose anymore. I think if you want like a mid close range shooting dreadnought, you're going to take a Saturn 9 now. And if you want a dual fist dreadnought, you'll probably run a Contemptor. I don't see where the Leviathan fits in anymore, because both its guns got nerfed very hard and it's only weapon skill 4. And then, your long range dreadnought, the Dreadios, actually still seems pretty good. Like, that's probably, honestly, I think going to be one of the strongest dreadnought choices now is the Dreadio, because the Plasma Hellfire is a blast. So even if you miss, you still only have to scatter 1d6. So it's with a 5-inch scatter, it's probably still going to be pretty effective. And then I'm like John mentioned this with Angar and Transfigured. I'm a little disappointed in the Primarch profiles. Like, it annoys me. One of the things that annoyed me the most in second edition was that a lot of the Primarchs are weapon skill 7. I think no character that's not a Primarch should be the same weapon skill as any of the Primarchs except maybe Lorgar. I think all of the Primarchs should be base weapon skill 8. And then if you want a couple of them to be weapon skill 9, fine, whatever. But like, any Primarch should be hitting tactical Marines on 2s, right? Like, it's crazy to me that like Dorn, because Dorn actually got knocked down to weapon skill 7, which like I'm gonna make fun of Beto for that when I see him next. Yeah, like Dorn, Gilliman, I think the Khan is weapon skill 7. So like half the Primarchs are hitting baseline Marines on 3s, which is crazy to me. Because like, how many times have you had those rolls where it's like, oh look, my Primarch didn't hit anything? Like, that shouldn't be the case, and then also like they've lost a little bit of the luster with like their Sire of the Legion traits. Like, they basically all have the same Sire of the Legion trait now, where it's like, if all of your prime slots are filled by tactical squads, they all have this prime advantage. So that to me feels a little bit less flavorful, which goes back to the Rights of War issue I have, where a lot of the legions feel a little bit less flavorful. But hopefully the list building is what makes individual lists more flavorful. So I think that ultimately will kind of like balance that out. But yeah, I'm a big fan of the setup moves with charges now. I think setup moves, like, it takes a little bit of the swinginess away from challenges, which to me, like, is great. Like, it would drive me crazy when you have like a unit 3 inches away from an enemy and you can't and you like roll a double 1. Like to me, that just doesn't seem like it should be like possible. Like, that's like one of the most broken things about the game to me, was that like you could possibly fail a 3-inch charge with like an assault unit, and like, I appreciate that. Like, it's like, yeah, it's ridiculous that a Terminator unit would be able to charge 12 inches. It goes both ways. Like, I appreciate that they kind of like reduced that and made it so that like, you're are more reliable charges, and B, have a way to mitigate Overwatch if you're being tactical in the assault phase. It's a way where it's like you still keep Overwatch, but it's not like as dominant as it was in 2.0. So I really like that. And like, that brings me to reactions as well, because I think with reactions, we're still gonna have most people are still gonna have 3 reactions, right? Like, because the Master of Legion, if you bring a Praetor, that gives you a bonus reaction. If you're playing a game that's like at least 1,500 points, you're gonna have 2 reactions from that. And I love the fact that they're not locked to a specific phase anymore. I mean, how many times because like for my Thousand Sons, the best Warlord trait is 2 movement phase reactions. And most games, you're not really reacting that much in the movement phase. So this way, if you're like, oh, hey, like my opponent's really far away from me, he's probably not going to, trip any of my movement phase reactions, and he's probably not going to assault me. Like, I can use all 3 of my reactions in the shooting phase. Like, that's great. And that's also more tactical. So now you have to be like, you can choose to use your reactions earlier, but that means that you're not going to have them for later. So like to me, it brings more tactical flexibility to the game as well, which is great. And also the fact that each unit can only react once means that you can try to like beta reaction out of a unit, and you don't have to worry about a strong shooting unit reacting against you 3 times. Like if they want to like intercept you, they can't return fire. If they want to return fire, they can't overwatch. So like that to me is really important that they did that, and I think that is going to be really strong.
No, yeah, no, totally agree. And I think maybe what you said earlier about some units feeling lackluster is, I think, a great segue into maybe the next part, which is, what do you guys think are the biggest winners and losers as far as the game is concerned, unit-wise? I think we should all just maybe pick one big loser, one big winner.
I want to talk about like a rules thing first before we go through that.
Oh,
something
yeah.
we missed, which is kind of funny, was tactical statuses. Which is
Yes.
Yeah. So I was like, like all excited, but I forgot about that. But yeah, statuses
Oh,
are a good addition to the game, where they just add another dimension of thinking, of tactical thinking, when you're playing. Where I was saying Ryan this earlier, where when you look at weapon profiles now, you're not just judging things by how can these kill Space Marines. It's how can these kill Space Marines, or how can they make Space Marines useless or not hold objectives, which is great. It's weapons like a lot of weapons who you don't really take like a lot of incendiary rounds, or some like bolt weapons. Like they're way better now, or way more useful now, because
flamer weapons
can suppress, panic things. Because just so listeners remember that if you have any tactical status, you can't hold objectives. So just putting that, even if you suppress a unit where it can still move, or like snapfires, well, it can't hold objectives now. So that's extra points for you, right? So all these weapons, it opens up a lot of variety, which I really like with
not only that, but if a unit has a status, it automatically is striking initiative 1 in combat. And I think it's -1 weapon skill as well, which is crazy. So like that's gonna really change the game, like the strategy of the game, with like how people deal with statuses.
Agreed.
So anyways, back to the Esteban's question.
Right. So what do you guys think are the biggest winners and losers? And in this case, I maybe just make a general sweeping idea, or if there's a very specific unit or maybe a legion you want to mention. I do have my personal best and worst, I have 2 personal bests and 1 worst off unit. If you guys want me to start.
Yeah.
I'm still thinking of mine.
All right, so worst off unit I want to say is going to be actually the tactical squad. Tacticals, because they're all leadership 7 and all their base stats are 7 and only the sergeant has leadership 8, are now going to be falling crazy for all these new tactical statuses. And perfect, John, that you mentioned that before we got into that. The tactical, and to that extent the spoiler squad, is really going to be, as much as they are the linchpin for scoring points because of their line ability, they are going to be pinned and panicked and suppressed and everything so many times, and they're just going to be just failing left and right with all these statuses. I think they're the biggest loser because they're going to struggle to actually do anything other than make checks all game, honestly. So that's my thought as for the worst. Any thoughts on that?
I mean, you're not wrong, actually. They do have really poor leadership stats. Now, line 2 is so good though, but it doesn't.
Like exactly, it doesn't matter if it's off, because everything's going to be causing them. I think, what is it? Panic that turns it off, right? Panic.
That's fair. I mean, there's items, there's characters, and the meme I keep telling people is like, make sure you bring your voxes, because voxes let you test to take statuses away at the at start of your turn instead of the end of your turn.
Yeah,
but they're definitely going to be getting statuses. In the game I played, the TAC Marines definitely, if they were hit by a status weapon, they probably took one. I got a status that turn because it's a coin flip of leadership, cool 7, leadership 7 or 8.
I mean, but I will say this: it's gonna be a thing of target priority. I feel like tactical Marines were like very easy to kill in 2.0. I mean, it's different. We're not talking about statuses versus just wiping them out. Like, if you just wanted to kill a tactical squad in 2.0, it wasn't that hard. Like, pretty much everything could do it. But you usually waited to target them because there were other bigger, scarier things coming at you first. So I do think we're gonna have a similar thing in 3.0, right? Where it's like, are you necessarily going to target those tax squads right away, or are you going to try to take out other priorities first? And if you do target the tacticals first, maybe the other priorities get closer to you and kill you. So they're were always, to me, like, not very. I mean, the one thing that they're good at is scoring, right? Like that hasn't changed. That is the one thing they're good at, is scoring. They're not really meant to be good at much else, So yeah, I agree with you. I think they're going to be very easy to status. My question is going to be like, is that going to strategically change the way people target them, versus other units?
You know what? I think it's actually going to change the way how we build lists. And going into that, the way to mitigate this is just keep attaching Centurions to them. And now it's so easy to get Centurions, or in some cases, you might want to go with the cheaper.
I mean, you kind of need Centurions now, almost.
Yeah,
also, like, rhinos are really strong now. So like you pop
like
the rhino.
Wait, hold on. Is
actually,
that your best unit glow up right there? Is the rhino your best glow up unit, Randy?
I don't know if it's the best. No, it's not actually. I think AV-14 is the best. But
yes.
rhinos actually got like a pretty, like, they're like, I feel like before, anytime something targeted them, like, they were a goner. Like, that's not really the case anymore. And they also have, like, I think auto repair 3 or 4, so like they can de-status themselves pretty easily. But like, you pop a squad in a rhino, you've got like a base 12-inch, like 14-inch move with the rhino, another 7-inch move with the tactical squad, a 4-inch rush potentially if you need to. Like, they can kind of wait for their moment to pop out and get on an objective. So I don't necessarily see them just kind of like sitting around waiting to be shot at. And also, like, the rhino is a great mobile line of sight blocker. If your opponent has something like is going to stun, maybe you pop them out and use the rhino to like kind of block them off from that. So I do think that, like, to your point, where like, by themselves they are weak and have a lot of issues, but if you put a Centurion with them, if you put a rhino with them, like, there's ways to supplement them where they can make an impact.
Don't forget the bolter buff. That's a thing.
Yeah, the Fury of the Legion. Yeah,
or our bolters
bolters are
bolters
are 2 shots regardless of how far away you are. So
they're still only strength 4.
But yeah, to that point, we can talk about vehicles. I mean, like, I think anything AV-14.
No, let's do weak units first. Weak units, and then we go.
Weak units. Yeah. What's your weak unit, John or Randy? Whoever wants to go.
So
go for it.
I think it's 2 wound models or 2 wound units with a 3-up save are like fucked this edition, in my opinion. I mean, Artificer armor sucks. Artificer sergeant sucked, but I didn't realize how it made a lot of 3-up save veteran units survivable.
Well, yeah, because I think
veterans are just gonna die. There's so much AP3 now. Maybe there was so much AP3, but we just kind of
Artificer armor. But the mindset of being like, I feel like we all got into this mindset of like, well, AP3 weapons are useless.
Yeah,
because everyone's just going to tank on Artificer armor. So why even bring them? Like, when's the last time you saw someone rock like missile launcher heavy support squad? It's that kind of thing where it's like, I mean, it's not every once in a blue moon, but like a lot of
now they're way better now.
That like were AP3, people were like, I'm not going to bother because they're just going to tank it on Artificer, So yeah, I think, and like a lot of AP3 guns and like weapons are going to make a resurgence. I think.
Yeah. Stuff like veterans are very squishy. Veteran assault squads, like, be careful because power weapons are AP3 base, so they're gonna get hurt a lot. Like, if you could take an invul save like combat shield or something, I really suggest you take them or put them in vehicles. Walking any 3-up save 2-1 unit is a death sentence, because if your opponent is smart, they're just gonna shoot that before they get to do anything. And a lot of these AP3 weapons are damaged too, so they're killing them just as fast as tax squads, and you'll have less of them because they're more elites, right? So yeah, you really got to think about how to get those guys where they need to go, because they're very squishy now.
Oh yeah, no. I think in general, I mean, if you want to extend that out, just being a 3-up save in 2nd edition wasn't as bad because we lost so much AP3. But this edition has brought back quite a bit of AP3, and I think it's actually now the right balance. which does make all of our, and because of the introduction of damage as a characteristic, instead of brutal, that dreadful keyword brutal,
Or instant
Um,
death, like instant death being gone. Huge
yeah,
thing.
that change has definitely made, like, I think just to say in general, 2-wound models have become more vulnerable. Even Terminators. I mean, a Terminator with an unlucky 1 will die to an autocannon, which I guess is one of my glow ups actually, but we'll get to that later. So John,
But on the flip side of that,
Mhm.
they won't necessarily die to a las cannon.
this is true. With the damage changes.
Yeah.
So Randy, what's your worst model? Your worst
Besides
unit?
contempors, because we're here to talk about that.
Besides dreadnoughts.
Unless you want to emphasize it again, by all means.
Oh, I have one. Sky Hunters. I think jet bikes got fucked so hard.
Really? I never even thought like what.
Elaborate.
I don't disagree. I just haven't thought of
like,
it.
You talk about, like, I think a lot of people didn't understand what their purpose was, or like whether it was intentional or not, what their purpose was in 2.0. Like what made them good in 2.0 was if you treated them like mobile heavy support platforms, right? Like the best way to run them typically was stack them with Volkite Culverins and treat them like a mobile heavy support squad. Like hide them in the beginning, pop them out wherever you need to do damage, as opposed to a normal heavy support squad with Volkite Culverins. You couldn't really move them. You had to keep them in one spot, and that made them a target. Whereas the bikes, you could hide them, move them, pop around, whatever, and they were harder to kill. So that was the best way to run them, and I think a lot of people thought, oh, like shot multi-melts on them, which made them very expensive, and charge them forward, and they were very easy to kill because even though they have 2 wounds, they were only a 3-up save, and they were vulnerable to instant death. Now the weapons that they take all have buffs for them standing still. I don't believe that I don't think that they cancel that out by being anti-grav. I think they still would need to stand still to get the buffs for those weapons. So now you have a very fast unit that you're being incentivized to not move, which defeats the purpose of them being a fast unit. And on top of that, they're even worse at close combat now because they don't get a bonus for +1 attack, which means they only have 1 attack each. Like, so they're not good in combat, and they're worse at shooting. And on top of that, they can't ever score or contest objectives. So, like, what are they for now? Like, I think that they got hurt real bad, and I have Sky Hunter units in 2 of my armies, but I feel very bad for a lot of White Scars players who are about to discover how bad they are, because I just don't know what to do with them anymore. They just don't seem to have the same status that they had in 2.0, and they don't seem to have a new one that at least that one that I've found yet.
You know what? I agree with you, Randy, because I'm looking at their entry right here, and even though they have some cool options, like the sergeant can take a melee weapon, he's only got 1 attack.
But why would you pay for? That's what I'm saying. Like, why would you pay for a melee weapon that you can only hit with once?
No, that's I'm agreeing with you. Like this unit seems to have taken a big step backwards, especially considering it's a brand new plastic model kit. I will say the plasma cannon's still there, and the plasma cannon probably might be a good choice now, even if it is now breaching 6 or 5 if you overcharge it. It is 2 wounds. It wasn't 2 wounds before, right? It was 2
wounds. Yeah.
It was 2 wounds. Okay, so they haven't increased its toughness at all then. I think I do gotta agree with you. I think they are probably maybe one of the bigger losers for sure. But the Volkite Culverin is still pretty effective. I mean, standing still just gives you an extra shot. So they're still putting out, what is it, 4 or 5 shots right now?
It's 3. That got nerfed to 3
shots. Okay, that got nerfed to 3 shots.
Yeah, so if they move, now they only get 3 shots, which is a pretty big nerf from where they were. Because that's a weapon that, because it's only like AP 4 or 5, like it relies on weight of fire to be effective. If you've got like a 5-man unit that's only putting out 15 shots, like you're not really like doing that much. Like Volkite relies on like forcing your opponents just roll as many dice as possible. And without that, it's not an effective weapon, I think.
Right. And the multi-melt is basically just a suicide at that point if you're getting that close.
Yeah, and also the issue with multi-melt is now, and this goes back to AV14 being really good now. They're not twin linked anymore. So if you don't hit with your one shot, like that's it. And then, getting close, like Armor Bane is not the same thing anymore. Like you don't get 2d6 for Armor Pen.
That's huge.
So like
Not getting 2d6
if you're trying to target a high armor vehicle, like you need 6s. And there's no reroll, there's no 2d6. Like you're relying on a natural 6 to do anything. And sure, if you get it, it's going to be very effective. But like you're not going to get it that often. Certainly not as often as you did in 2.0.
No, yeah, agree. So that's all of our worsts now.
now.
Said okay. All right, so now we'll move on to the best.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so for me, it's between two things. One is autocannons, which I mentioned a little bit earlier. Autocannons have now become the terror of weapons. I feel like especially auxilialists, where they can take a lot of autocannons, are going to be very, very happy because their damage too is going to be very good, especially for picking off things like rhinos, where they can even if they have a better chance of getting a pen on a lot of the lighter armor, and so are going to just be dealing 2 points of damage, and they only need 3 of those to go through to really kill most vehicles. So I feel like they're going to be doing really good. And again, against Marines, they just need to get past the 3 up for the most part to be killing things. But I think the real winner of this edition is actually going to be from the Mechanicum, and that's going to be the Thalex squad. They got cheaper. It's now only, I think, 125, 130 points for the full 6-man squad, and they can change out all their weapons for a special weapon now.
Yeah, dude, that was back. I couldn't believe I saw that where Thalex went like down in points and increased their squad size. Like I was like, is this correct? Like they're literally cut in half. I mean, they lost the wound, but still, yeah.
Yeah, and I think honestly they're going to be a terror on Mechanicum list. Just seeing full 6-man squads out the wazoo, especially because now, you can take them a lot of them now, and it's going to just be, especially Mechanicum players. I think them taking like 4, maybe even 5 squads might be like the rule to do.
That might be harder because they're not troops anymore. They're support. So you need to cater your army to take them.
I was going to say, I think we already have that because you could there's the attachment for 2 supports already, right? It gives you 2 supports. So it shouldn't be that hard.
Well, I haven't had a chance there's a Mechanicum one that has to take 4. So it's possible. Yeah, you could take 4 support.
Any restriction on what you're allowed to take in those support?
Just that's like a base auxiliary for Mechanicum. So it's for like Hastellax and Thalex and all that. Now they are leadership 7, but they're cool 12, which is super good. Yeah, I think Thalex got a big glow up for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, I did. It looks like a typo, but no, like you could take a full squad with multi-meltas if you want, or plasma fusils if you want.
So that's what I think is the biggest glow up as far as units go. Mechanicum players are eating well with their Thalex now, and I suspect we'll see all the free Thalex boxes on eBay and whatever stores still have them disappear in the next couple weeks. I know I need to actually go pillage my local stores to see if I can't get 1 or 2 more boxes.
I mean, I know Geeky Tees was having some mech stuff on sale for a while. I don't know if they still do.
I don't think so. When something goes on sale there, for as far as Heresy or 40K goes, it goes pretty fast.
Yeah, we'll always check.
All right, so that's my biggest glow up, at least.
I mean, for me, it's got to be AV14, like vehicles in general.
Yeah, you keep saying it.
But I'm gonna say it again. I think Kratoses are usable now. I mean, that was one of my biggest things I love to say in like 2.0 is that like the Kratos was garbage because like it was hard to kill, but also like
not really.
Who cares? And not really, and it was too expensive for what it did. Like now, it's stable, which means it can move and shoot everything, and it doesn't have any negatives for having moved. It like counts as being stationary regardless of moving, and it's really really hard to hurt AV14. Like you have to pour a lot of shots into it. Like my one test game, Reed and I were like shooting at each other's Land Raiders the entire game, and they were both still alive at the end of it. I mean, how often did that happen in 2.0? Like usually one blew the other one up in turn 1 and then just kind of like bounced around for the rest of the game, but like, yeah, like, and especially because armor bane weapons, like the way the rules work, where like if you penetrate something, it doesn't do anything else. It just takes a whole point off or damage. Because it doesn't affect statuses, a lot of the strong anti-vehicle guns, they'll take off hull points, but they're not going to do anything else to it. So like, if you like manage to take all but one hull point off of a tank with your las cannons or your multi meltas, like it's still going to be just as effective as if it had full hull points. Whereas before, more than likely, you were immobilizing it or you're taking off some of its battle weapons or whatever. Which makes me think that like potentially guns like missile launchers are going to be really effective because they don't have armor bane. So like, yeah, you're going to need 6s to glance, but those glances are going to put statuses on vehicles that don't get statused very often and might be difficult to get those statuses off of. Like a Proteus, I don't think has a high auto repair. So like if you put a couple statuses on a Proteus, like it could be stuck like doing nothing for an entire game, even with full hull points.
Yeah, buy some Tech Marines, guys. That's what I'm doing. Tech Marine stock going up.
Yeah,
but I want to add on to that too what Randy was saying, and you know, some listeners may think, oh no, like is AV14 the new Contemptors? And the answer is no, because while they are super unkillable, they don't put out as much damage as a Contemptor equivalent would be to be OP. Like the Kratos is really good, but it doesn't throw off enough shots to be like a terror of the battlefield, right?
And it's still expensive. I think it's had a points reduction, but it's still not. It's not like you're getting 3 Predators.
I think it's like over 300 if you take last cannon. So yeah, it's play. I think playable is a good word. It's playable and it's good. It's not like OP. And Land Raiders, yeah, they're unkillable, but you know they have 4 last cannons. I mean, they're more there to transport units, right? They're not really going to dominate the battlefield.
I was gonna say, I think Spartans with laser destroyers are gonna be the key choice now, honestly. Just because being able to take that strength 10 laser is gonna be a little bit more helpful. Honestly,
they're so expensive. They're like 500 points.
We're already used to paying so many points for them already. Just and everyone has Spartans now, so might as well.
Everyone has Spartans. No, I think the freaking Python is gonna like mulch people because what is it? It's like Ordnance D or something. So and it counts as standing still, and it's like strength 12 and. Who cares if it's AP3 because vehicles doesn't matter for vehicles anymore. So that could be doing a lot of work. And my point being too is that there's Spartans could be deadly, Kratoses could be deadly, but there's tools out there that will kill them, right? Like rapier lasers, vindicators, typhons. Those are weapons that are really weak against a lot of units, but really strong at deleting armor 14. So it kind of goes back like the balance of the weapons seems better on paper this edition, where you really got to make sure you have the right tool for the job and not just take 10 last cannons and hope they'll do everything for you, right?
Yeah.
I was gonna say I think that's the new threshold. Where last edition it was 8, strength 8 was the threshold to be worried about. I think this edition strength 10 is actually the threshold that we're gonna be looking for because that's gonna be what helps get past AV14 the most.
And then we see meta where everyone just takes Tech Marines, and then here we go.
No.
But that's exactly it. It's like that. Like the fact that strength 10 is better against tanks doesn't make it any better against infantry anymore because instant death is not a thing. Yeah. So like it does balance that out a little bit where like really strong anti-tank isn't necessarily good on everything.
Yeah.
Which is why it's actually very important to now mention that Spartans can take a Gravis heavy bolter battery. So that I think is going to be the other niche choice. Have one Spartan with laser destroyers and one with a Gravis heavy bolter battery. One to take care of tanks, one to put suppressive on every single tactical squad it can see.
Yeah, that's one way.
All right, is it my turn? My glow up?
Go for it.
Yeah.
Man, it's hard. Like, I was gonna say like heavy support squads because of the heavy thing, or like even Seekers with their Kraken Bolter buff. But I'm gonna say my answer because I had such fun with it is the Legion Champion. Legion Champion. So, I mean, challenge.
Let's go 7,
you guys
baby.
know the challenge rules. Yeah, like read the challenge rules are super fun. But so Legion Champions are super good. They're like weapon skill 7, weapon skill 6.
Well, the weapons go 6, but if you put them in a prime slot.
Yes. So there's a prime slot, everyone, called Paragon of Battle. It's a prime upgrade that gives a command unit that's not your Praetor +1 attack and weapon skill. And you put this on your champion. Your dude is like 1v1ing like special characters and Praetors and probably winning because I think Praetors are weapon skill 6. So
yeah.
yeah, this guy will kick some butt. I mean, I think that the champion was the poster boy of like the oh no, we lost we lost the war gear options because he only has he has a Paragon blade, but he lost Terminator armor. He can only take a Volkite pistol because the Maul has that, or a Combi Melta or whatever. But I don't know, man. Like that sucks, but dude, he's such a badass because he will mulch things with his Paragon blade.
And I do think they did mention that like they will be getting additional options in the Legacy. So there's
I hope he gets Terminator armor because
champion will get other things back.
Yeah. But yeah, Legion champion with Paragon on battle it went from just like this cool kind of Paragon blade guy to freaking 1v1 me, bro. Because challenges, you can, like if you refuse a challenge, you got a tactical status, which means you can't hold objectives. So you gotta
also
be, yeah.
On the flip side of that, they're not forced to challenge every stupid Legion like sergeant in the game before they can hurt anything else. You know, if you're charging them into a tactical squad, like they can actually kill the tactical squad and not just be like, wait a turn until the sergeant is dead and hope that another sergeant doesn't pop in. Like, you know, so I appreciate that like challenges like are I mean, sure, there's still gonna be some tactics to it, but it's no longer like a suck for your characters to get like taken out of the battle, you know?
Right. Yeah, especially because like, your Vanguard units are probably going to be wanting to be in the scrum in the middle. And so is everyone, right? So you're going to expect to be in combat with their big Vanguard unit. And, if you have a champion with Paragon in battle, he will, there's very few units he can 1v1 and do, at worst he'll match them with weapon skill 7. That's like Abaddon's weapon skill or whatever, right? I think Sigismund's weapon skill 7. But yeah, such a glow up for a unit that everyone can take, and he's a command, so he gets you an auxiliary detachment. Yeah, actually, his auxiliary detachment is really good because it's one elite unit, one command unit, and a freaking heavy transport, which could be a Land Raider or a Spartan, and it's really hard to get those 3 in one slot. So, and you usually want a command squad or an elite unit, right? So that the fact that he gives that too, just more points for this awesome dude.
Yeah,
honestly, yeah, I can totally see that. Honestly, the Legion the champion is going to be a very tough unit to not see at least everyone run at least one of. I think like it's going to be right up there next to Master of Signals as one of the must-take units of the edition. Which is funny because the Master of Legion got a complete and total rework. Like it's completely different from what it used to be practically, but it's basically still a take.
Yeah.
No, I think it's going to be huge being able to give Vanguard units line. Especially like if you're taking like a Just Darren heavy Sons of Horus list, like it's going to be like huge. Also, like I think a fun, which is probably not really going to make an impact in 90% of games, but like Titan's got a big glow up as well. Like the Warhound Titan, which is if you're going to see Titan, you're most likely going to see Warhound. Like they're actually like usable now. Not they weren't usable before, but like if someone had like a decent amount of anti-tank, like they could probably take it out in one turn. Now it seems much more difficult to kill. They've got different armor, like hull points for different parts of their bodies. They've got different armor values. Like destroying armor in one place might like weaken it in a certain way, which is like everything about it just makes it seem like it's going to be a lot more fun. Like I haven't quite gotten into my like Liber Questoris book yet, but I'm excited to kind of go through and see like all the different things that have been like changed with that. Because before it felt a little too like it didn't like the rules didn't match the feel of the God Machine on the battle, right? I think there's like a thing where if it's like reactor explodes, literally like every model on the field takes a wound, like, that's pretty cool,
Yeah.
So I'm excited to like see how that shakes out, and maybe I'll figure out a way to transport my Warhound out onto more games in the future.
Warhounds, I gotta say, Warhounds are just such a fun model to see. I don't expect I'll ever see actually a Reaver or a guy to fight against one in a 1v1 game, just because you need to be in a what is it, 5,000 point game in order to run one, right?
We could make that happen. Once John,
No.
It's
John is
his-
still at least a year and a half out, and by then we'll get
I gotta
rumors.
paint it
We'll
for-
get rumors of fourth edition if this is.
I gotta
anything
paint it
by.
still before it's on the table.
Yeah. When it gets painted, we'll do a massive battle report with both Titans.
I'll just say I still have my 3D printed Warhound to paint, so we could do a 2-on-1 fight.
Yeah. I mean,
Me and
Warhounds
Bully
aren't,
John.
at least, I mean, we'll look at the new weapon rules, but Warhounds aren't really meant to be good against other Titans. Like, at least mine, like, both its weapons are blast weapons. Like, they're really meant more to be like infantry killers. But
Actually, you know what? That reminds me. Did you guys see the turbo laser? I think that's now a 3-inch blast, not even a 5-inch blast, right?
really, that hurts me.
Yeah, no, it's almost now dedicated like anti-vehicle because it has such a small blast. Like you only want to shoot that at vehicles now.
What about the other one, the plasma? Because that was a 7-inch blast before. Did they neuter that too?
I don't know because I haven't had a chance. I just remember seeing it in one section in one of the leaks I saw earlier, but I didn't see the plasma blast gun. John, do you have the book for that yet?
No, I don't have the. I only got the mechanic one in the.
I have it.
Assault.
It's in the other room though. I'll have to look it up later.
Double check. So maybe plasma blast gun is the actual biggest loser of 3.0.
I don't know. It sounds like the turbo laser might be. Oh, that hurts me.
Yeah, right.
Actually, speaking of large bat, I think artillery got to glow up. Some more than others. Like the not regular shell for the Arquid or still whatever, but the Phosphex being Panic 3 is super good now.
Oh
Basilisks are really good against vehicles because of the ordnance damage thing. The Demolisher cannon for Vindicator is also really good against vehicles, and same for the Typhon.
No, the
Doing 6
Scorpius.
damage per shot if you stand still.
The Scorpius got reduced to a 3-inch blast though.
Oh, that sucks. Sorry, Scorpius.
Mhm. It was needed, honestly. Well, if it stands still, you have increased firepower, right? You get an extra
He gets
shot.
2 shots, yeah.
It's a side grid, I think.
Yeah. But
I do want to say there is one thing I am sad about, and that is just how much they continue to nerf plasma. I mean, the majority of plasma weapons are all now breaching 6-up, and it hurts my soul as a Dark Angels player knowing that all my plasma burners, which caused fear across everyone who I played against, are now no longer capable of causing quite that much fear.
I feel like having to risk overload for breaching 5-up is like too high a price to pay. Like, I don't understand the cost benefit for that doesn't seem to make sense.
I do think 10-man plasma support is pretty solid because plasma got nerfed, but they're like 100. They got the points went down. They're like 180 points now, I think, for 10 guys, which is pretty cheap for what they do.
I could care less about plasma.
I think
I'm worried about my
nerf.
It's my plasma burners that I'm sad about.
Yeah.
We went down on our plasma burners to strength 5 on a sustained fire with breaching 6-up. That is awful. It's a template. We don't even have torrent anymore. Torrent doesn't exist as a rule. So now our plasma incinerator, the big heavy one, has to still be point blank. I'm in cope mode, guys. I'm on life support.
That was one of those like overcorrections where it was like, oh, this is too good. Make it bad now.
Like, I could understand if it was like 5 and 4, like, hey, 5-up breaching normally and then 4-up breaching with your overload. That would make sense. I would think that would be believable because now it makes breaching 4-up like have consequences. But
I got lucky. My Legion units got a glow up. The Blood Angels, slight glow up, but Just Aaron, geez, someone really likes Just Aaron in the rules team because they are insane. Same for Abaddon, insane. Reavers are okay.
The suzerain did not do as well though. They lost their Thunder Hammers, and not having the Logos Lectura makes them much weaker as well. So we'll probably be seeing a few of those on the battlefield. But I feel like that's a pretty good place to kind of call it. Do you guys have any last comments, last thoughts?
I do have it, and that is even though Dark Angels seem to be the biggest losers as far as losing all their traits, we actually got a huge buff in form of variety of building choices because all of our winged attachments are super busted as far as options. So we just spoiled for choices as usual. And not having to have any characteristic lower than 6, I think that's going to be a game changer for our tacticals and any other like characteristic 8 units, honestly, because having a lot of the stuff like that's Panic 3 is what's going to be, I think, good this edition. And we're kind of like, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, if you're on the fence with the edition, like play it. It's really hard to, I think, appreciate all the positive stuff with the new edition unless you actually play it. Because maybe on paper the rules are convoluted, or the thing you like got nerfed or whatever. But I think playing the game, you'll really see that it's a solid rule set. And I think a lot of people I've seen online and talked to in person agree that the rule set itself is like super good. It's the weakness is the army list options, especially for Space Marines. Not so much like Mechanicum is amazing. Solar Ox, from what I saw, pretty awesome too. But Space Marines, I think the quality of how fun units are all over the place. But yeah, overall the rule set, give it a try, guys, if you're on the fence. And if you don't want to play it, play 1.0. Don't play 2.0. Play 1.0.
I mean, to that point, like if you are on the fence, you're not sure, but you already have a 2.0 Space Marine army, like you don't have to spend any money. Like all of the relevant documents have been leaked online, or you'll get like the free PDFs. Like you can literally play the game with the leaked documents and decide if you like it, and like decide if you want to spend any money on it. Like you've already spent the money you need to spend if you already have a Space Marine army. Like it doesn't cost you anything to play a game and see if you like it or not.
Yeah, I can confirm that it's not too challenging to port your army from 2.0 to 3.0. I think the most thing to do is take a bunch of Centurions, which you could use like any power armored model for.
I mean, who doesn't?
For the most part, unless you play drop out assault, then you're fucked. I'm sorry, but besides that, you're the ancients. But besides that, like you're good. You probably have a playable army.
There are a few skewed lists that have problems now, but they're in the minority, unfortunately. Sorry, drop pod players. Yeah. Sorry, ancients players. Sorry. Who else had really skewed lists? Was there anyone? Did we know anyone who's running bikes?
There's the White Scar jet bikes. Well, Beto's list.
Sorry, Beto.
Beto's White Scar's list got nerfed hard.
From LVO, I know there was somebody, an awesome bro, who was running World Eaters Command Squad bikes. Command Squad bikes aren't a thing, right?
They're coming in the PDF. That's confirmed. Are they going to be good? Okay. I don't know. Playable? I don't know. But they are confirmed.
I mean, Outriders seem to have made out pretty well. So yeah, we'll see if the Command Outriders are any good.
We'll have to see. Oh, actually, no. Hold. I have a complaint. Why no Legacies PDF day one? We're waiting.
I mean,
right, Andy?
That seems to confirm my theory that they added that after the outrage, they decided to add more stuff to the Legacy PDF. So that would seem to confirm that theory, but we'll see.
I hope it's true.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure they did say it was going to be like a day one Legacy at first.
Yeah.
But
and now it's going to be sometime after lunch.
Who knows? We'll see. I'm sure it won't be like too long. Probably not more than a couple weeks at most. Hopefully,
no, don't. A couple weeks is too long.
I mean, it's only been like 3 days. Like the edition only came out on Saturday. It seems like it's been longer because we've had the leaked rules for like a month, but it's literally only been out officially for 3 days.
Yeah.
So like, let's keep that in mind. Like, it does seem like it's been out for longer than that, but it really hasn't.
Mm-hmm.
You are right, sir. We are a little, I guess, jumping on the gun here. So hopefully everything will be fine. We won't. No more panic, guys. Let the legacies come out, and then we can start getting our pitchfork sharpened and getting our tiki torches ready.
It'll be fine.
So it's probably a good place for us to call it. All the usual stuff, like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you guys are most looking forward to, or if there's things that you aren't super happy if they change. But try not to rage too hard. Again, it's a game. If you really hate it that much, don't play it. But we'll see you guys in the next one. Hopefully we can get a 3.0 battle report up soon. Have a good one, everybody.
Adios, people.